Welcome into this Tuesday edition of Pushing the Pile. The show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Mike Renner, Kyle Long, JP Acosta. And we had a game last night, fellas. JP, I know you're on cloud nine. We'll get to you in a second. Jaguars win 31-28 as 3-point dogs at home. It was a wild one. JP, let's hear it.
That was the most Jacksonville Jaguars way for any of that to happen. I'm going to be completely honest. That's also a game the Jaguars have lost my entire life. They go down 14-0. Trevor tries the Superman jump over, and he fumbles the ball on the goal line, which Trevor Lawrence has never been good at quarterback sneaks. He's never been a tush-push guy because he's so tall but also really skinny. You can't really push those guys. So he's always done the Superman jump over, the Drew Brees just reach the ball out over the goal line and then pull it back. He's always done that. But it was a really great play by Nick Bolton to go and make that play and knock the ball out because they knew he was going to try and jump over. But after that fumble, I was pretty sure the Jaguars are going to lose that game. That was a game the Jaguars have lost all the time. Patrick Mahomes was incredible on Monday night. But this team finds ways to win. And I think that it was largely because they got the Trevor Lawrence that they kind of needed in this game. And I said after the game, you need reckless, volatile Trevor Lawrence if you are going to get close to the mutant quarterbacks. You're not going to beat the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Patrick Mahomes of the world without Trevor Lawrence doing what he did yesterday. My big number from this game was 6. That's the amount of scrambles Trevor Lawrence had in this game, a career high. He had 54 yards on 10 carries. I said literally on the first drive of the game, I wish Trevor Lawrence would scramble more. He's a good athlete. And then he turns into the most dual threat version of Trevor Lawrence we've seen since his final year at Clemson. So I think just having that ability to scramble, to extend plays, the creation mode where Trevor Lawrence has kind of reined that in since his first year in the NFL, having that is what's going to help the Jaguars reach the point of being able to compete with the Bills, being able to compete with the Ravens, because you hire Liam Cohen to raise the floor of the offense. So when he eventually does do the stupid stuff, for some reason, he just never knows where the line of scrimmage is, and he'll always throw the ball while still being above the line of scrimmage. It's really funny. You need Trevor Lawrence playing that volatile. You need him playing with those high-end throws, the Brian Thomas Jr. throw on, I believe, third down, then following up with a De'Ami Brown out route. You need those kinds of plays for the Jaguars to get close to beating those top teams. So I thought this was another way the Jaguars have shown they can win games. They've won games with their defense. They've won games with their run game. And now they've won one because of their quarterback.
Yeah, Mike, I would say this. I agree with everything JP says. And when you've got a quarterback who you know is a guy that's going to stay in the pocket and make the throws, the defense treats you a certain way. Now, when that quarterback shows the ability to get out of dodge with his legs, it opens up so much in the middle of the field in particular. And you look at the way that Trevor was getting out of dodge, he was running back through the eye of the storm. And we've talked about this a lot. There's quarterbacks who run around the pocket, and then there's quarterbacks that step up into the pocket. For whatever reason, when that back foot hit the ground and things were sketchy, he was able to get out of dodge. And I also credit him for this. We tell these quarterbacks slide all the time. Trevor took some big hits down the field. And for him to retain possession of the football and get up not gingerly, it speaks to the specimen that he is physically. And I think we lose sight with all these freak quarterbacks who can run, how athletic, how big, how strong and tough Trevor Lawrence is. And it's so great for the NFL to have a guy like Trevor Lawrence and a team like the Jaguars competing and beating the Kansas City Chiefs in prime time. Look, Chiefs looked great early last night. I'm not really tripping on the Chiefs. I learned more about the Jaguars last night in this game, and I feel like this is a team that we've seen in the playoffs, and if they can get that kind of action and juice out of Trevor Lawrence, and if Brian Thomas Jr. can be that guy in their offense who's making those big plays on the hole shots, and De'Ami Brown, De'Ami Brown's awesome, dude. They have a bunch of guys. Tootin is fun to watch, physical, juice. I feel like their whole unit is kind of like that, and you could see that with the Devin White pick 6 as well.
Devin Lloyd, the GOAT.
Devin Lloyd, sorry.
He
Devin
was
Lloyd,
absolutely.
And by the way,
he's been a revelation through.
There were 3 guys I thought they were going to catch Devin Lloyd. And
I thought
it was so funny to watch. It was like cars weaving in and out of a highway traffic trying to catch that one rabbit car. And there was a few guys. I was like, he's going to get him. No, he's going to get him. I guess he's gone. Talk about a friggin' backbreaker, low red, pick 6. And that's studying.
It's funny because both teams had like the backbreaker. You had the fumble at the goal line, then 97-yard touchdown drive from the Chiefs. And then you had the goal line pick 6. So like both teams got theirs. But I was cracking up last night every time Trevor Lawrence ran, because we were literally like, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? We're on this pod just being like, run, Trevor, just run. Don't pass it when you're 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. When you're 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, you should be at full speed. And for the very first time in his career, it seemed like that was something that he was actively searching out, and not outside of the last touchdown, which was one of the craziest plays off the drive. But Trevor still got some. It's just still got some weirdness. The delay of game on the final drive. I don't know how that's possible in a 2-minute situation to take a delay of game. It's something I just almost have never seen. It's just like, what was that? And so this Jags team still can't really quite get out of their own way. But I thought a really big play in this game was the Travis Hunter catch. Underthrown. It was a play that just basically you could span Trevor Lawrence's entire career and know that play never gets made. That's a play that just never got made by his previous receiving course. That now he finally has a guy where it's like, oh, I don't have to be perfect. He's going to make up for my mistakes. You finally have those guys in hopefully in Brian Thomas Jr. once he catches the football, because Trevor Lawrence does still lead the league in drop rate from his wide receivers. But once you have that guy and have that trust, I think this offense is only going to look better as the season wears on. I think they're already where they're at now, able to lead a game-winning drive the way they did. I think you're only going to see it improve, health permitting, as this season wears on.
Was that did he back into a whip route? Was that what I was looking at there? He ran with the whip route. He had his back to the 2 secondary guys, and then he Euro stepped 2 defenders. Plays like that, dude. And you see Patrick make him in the game. I think he threw it to Hollywood Brown on the left side of the screen. He made 2 guys miss in a similar fashion. When we think about these great quarterbacks, we think about them putting the ball in the perfect spot and making all these incredible Herculean throws. But the ones that are big-time throws are the ones where you throw it to the wrong shoulder, you underthrow it, and your guy can make a play. And for a guy like Travis Hunter to put his foot in the ground with his back to the defense, flip his body around, get vision, make 2 guys miss, that helps Trevor sleep a lot easier at night, more so than the 50-50 ball down the field. I know he's going to catch it. No. If stuff's sketchy, get the ball out and make your hay. They've got guys like that. It's exciting to see.
He also made a lot of really good plays at defensive back. The first drive, he had a PBU on Travis Kelce where they left him in man coverage. So I think he played 25 snaps on defense, 39 on offense. He came out at one point, I think he was literally just cramping. So they just took him out for a couple of plays. But it speaks to the amount of faith that Trevor Lawrence has in these receivers, that he continues to throw at them in high leverage situations. We've talked about Brian Thomas Jr. not being able to catch the ball, them being off. Biggest play of the game. They go down, they go to Brian Thomas Jr. in that moment. Another play on that game-winning drive, they go to Brian Thomas Jr., he draws a DPI. So continuing to go to these guys, you show the faith that you have in players who are struggling by continuing to go with them. You continue to go and throw them the ball. So this was the biggest regular season win the Jaguars have had in legitimately 3 years. And again, for Kansas City, it feels like the late game magic, the one score game stuff is kind of worn off. But again, Patrick Mahomes was awesome. You really couldn't ask for much.
I got one question, because you guys are some of the brightest people I get to talk to about this stuff. And I'm not sure if it was covered on the main broadcast, but I was watching Peyton and Eli. because Fred Warner was on. By the way, Fred Warner, fantastic. The end of game Hail Mary, I got a question about. Do you think that Patrick could have gotten the ball into the end zone if he changed the trajectory? That's A. And B, do you think that he threw a moon ball intentionally because they know that any penalty on the last play will not allow the play to end, get us in field goal, throw a jump ball in field goal range versus trying to throw the ball into the end zone? Do you think there's anything worth discussing there? Because I thought if you're playing Galaxy Brain there, throw a moon ball at the 25-yard line. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having to throw it to the end zone. Is there any truth to what I'm saying?
I don't think so. They were at their own 28. That means you're releasing it. Even if you get back to the line of scrimmage, you got to get 73, 74 to get it.
It's not hard to believe that
to the end zone.
Throw it 74 yards. And with what your dad told me about humidity, it doesn't affect, thicker air doesn't affect the total distance.
It buoys it. But I don't think he would have had to get back to the line of scrimmage. Like if you're in the pocket, I don't think he could have gotten it there. So 6 yards behind. I don't think there's any chance he was getting it 77, 78 yards. Honestly, I'm not sure anyone in the NFL I would think could get it there 70.
Hey, Rich.
I don't even think him. Honestly, the closest would be Joe Milton. Joe Milton's the only guy. But
you're right.
Even he has said that he has to not think about it. He has to not try to throw far. So
I also think they were trying to go for a tip drill, which is why it had the trajectory, it had the arc that it did. Because that ball stops at what, the 25, the 20-yard line. I think they were going for the Commanders Hail Mary from last year, where you tip the ball up. where you try and tip the ball up, because I think they had it so somebody was running behind. I think it was Juju Smith-Schuster down there,
yep.
But they had somebody running behind so they could tip it back to them, and they try and score off of that because, like Mike said, there were like 3 seconds left. So even if you were going to try and kick a field goal, you would have to have drawn PI on a Hail Mary, which they rarely, if ever, call.
And I think they got to do the Saddam edit for Drew Tranquil, who broke up the interception that Nick Bolton had in his hands twice. My wife and I are watching this game. She's like, what is happening there? Is that just selfish play? I'm like, these defensive players don't get to touch the ball when they see it. It's just like,
even if his buddy has it, because he was going to tackle Trevor Lawrence on the final touchdown. Jerry Tillery then just like mollywopped his ass and knocked him out of the play. But like Drew Tranquil had a bead on Trevor Lawrence, and Jerry Tillery knocked him out. So he got his karmic revenge there for trying to break up that interception. I do think the Chiefs will be fine offensively. They are, last year they were bottom 5 in explosive plays, running the ball and passing the ball. That is completely different. This is an explosive offense.
Back there like this.
Yeah, and is only going to get more explosive when Rashee Rice comes back. Like there is juice to this team, and actually, in ways, I'm more excited about them. But I just don't think the pass rush is walking through that door. I think Chris Jones has lost a little, and yeah, he's still dominant. But he's not the guy who every single time he gets a one-on-one, it's like game over. That's what you needed to make it work. And then the secondary is just not that good. Outside of Trent McDuffie still nails. He was in this game too. Outside of Trent McDuffie, you got guys who are not able to play one-on-one when you face better wide receivers, as we saw down the stretch in this game. So the Chiefs, that's why they're losing these one-score games. The defense is not the defense we saw last year.
And I think to that point, the Chiefs offense really gave the Jaguars a lot of fits with the RPO stuff, which is exactly what you wanted from the Chiefs offense. Because of the threat of speed with Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown all on the field, they would do a lot of 3-by-1 formations where they would have it was either Noah Gray or Travis Kelce as the nub tight end on the opposite side, and then all 3 of your receivers to the other side. And they're trying to basically force the Jaguars into making a choice. You either defend the run with an attached tight end, or you have to go and try and defend our 3 receivers to the outside with leverage. And they just RPO'd a lot of the That's how the Chiefs were able to get their explosive runs back. They were able to run those RPOs and force the linebackers into a bind. So the fact the Chiefs are able to do that and be explosive, I'm not super worried, like you said, about the Chiefs offense. The Chiefs defense is going to be their problem because, like you said, I actually thought Chris Jones was getting a lot of pressure, a lot of penetration in the run game, but it's everybody else outside of him that has to pick up the pieces. Like Chris Jones is the guy who forces the pressure, but nobody's cleaning up the pressure and turning it into sacks like it did last year or the year before.
Hey, two really quick things. Number one, I texted JP about this during the game. Shout out to Makari's jump set. That man was on his jump set business last night, and because he was often opposite Chris Jones, so we get the slide left, and Makari had the tight 2, 3, and he was just jumping the whole night. The other thing, and I'm going to get up for this. Give me thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes, 180. Read option, the rushing touchdown. Patrick Mahomes is reading the crashing defensive end. He makes a proper read. We all know this. This is football 101. He crashes, Patrick keeps. If you notice out wide, there are 2 offensive players and 2 defenders. And when Patrick Mahomes kept that football, the defenders stayed outside. Now, if you know football and you know Patrick Mahomes, you know why they stayed outside. Because he's the sick SOB who will keep the quarterback keep and throw it to these guys when you crash. It's interesting to see that they're letting Mahomes at this point in his career really have the green light in the read option stuff. And you guys know when your quarterback can do that, it opens up a lot in the passing game and it opens up a lot in the running game. I was interested to see if in the future we're going to get that read option in the red area, crash the 2 secondary guys, pitch. It's going to be the read option pitch. That's what I think's next. I've been around Matt Nagy. He's going to see the play, and he's going to say, we're doing that next week.
And I said it during the game, but watching Patrick Mahomes is so fun until he's playing your favorite team, because he's going to do something that just like breaks all the rules. I think it was the sack that he avoided and late in the game it was either a scramble or the throw to like Hollywood Brown, where DeJuan Smoot has him wrapped up, and I swear he hits the ground. But his core strength and contact balance, I called it like limitless dad strength. Like he never goes down, and he just always makes those plays. But for the Chiefs, like it's crazy that they kind of were going back and forth. Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes going back and forth with the chaos plays.
To your point, Kyle, Mahomes runs a lot. They don't design runs for him. They don't option. They RPO, but it's a pass option. It's not he's going to run as one of the options. So I do wonder if they really do need to get in a lot of shootouts and they need to go deeper in the bag offensively to win these games. If they start maybe recanting on that and using them a little more. And I think that was a play where it's still at RPO, but a built-in, hey, you can run this too. We'll see. All right. Let's get to a quick break here. But after that, we have our trench takes from Kyle, JP's Playbook, my rookie report, and then our Upon Further Review segment, as we do every single Tuesday, coming up next.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
that is a rookie mistake,
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
Yeah.
All right, so we got our trench takes now. Okay, this is now it's time for the trench takes, sponsored by Nationwide. Just like any good O lineman can protect the quarterback and open lanes for the run game, Nationwide offers great insurance and great financial services. Nationwide is on your side. I know I got into the weeds last week with the jump set. I just tipped my cap to Makari on his jump set. That's called a callback for those of you in the media. Well, this week I'm going to touch on a few different things. Just these are opinions I have. Okay. Christian Darrisaw is the closest thing on planet Earth to Trent Williams. And when I say that, you might ask me why I say that. And I'll say, go watch the speed at which he can get defenders on the ground. Okay. That is what made Trent Williams and makes him so special. Obviously, his ability to run out front of these plays and be the lead blocker in the convoy is a huge deal. And that, you have to highlight that when you're talking about these athletes, particularly at the tackle position. But when I'm looking at this guy, Christian Darrisaw, it's the backside of a play. And a lot of offensive linemen are like, yeah, this is just an opportunity to get between the ball and my defender. Christian Darrisaw is trying to get people on the ground. You can tell he loves the game of football. He loves the violence of it. His technique, particularly with his hands, is incredible. The only way you can get these grown men on the ground is if you are impeccable with your hands and strong like you just came down from Mount Olympus. I tip my cap to Christian Darrisaw. And I remember a couple of years when he got in the building and I was talking to some of my buddies up there and I'm like, how much fun is it to be around Justin Jefferson and blah, blah, blah. All these players are like, nah, dude, ask me about Christian Darrisaw. And that speaks volumes. You guys have talked to guys in buildings, and when they tell you about a guy, you got to listen. So have an appreciation for Christian Darrisaw, okay? I don't want to
jump in real quick with Darrisaw. Yeah. His tape at Virginia Tech was still some of the most unique offensive tackle tape I can remember, because I've never seen a guy seemingly try less, like seemingly more effortless playing tackle, but have more pancakes. Like usually the guys who pancake a lot, put guys on the ground, like you're saying, usually they're like jumping out of their stance. They're super aggressive. They have a play style to them.
I wish I was Darrisaw.
Yeah, they have a play style to them that's like overtly physical. With Darrisaw, the guy was just seemingly, yeah, exactly, like a high-end sumo wrestler who just was going up against people he knew every single day. And I was like, how is this going to translate when he gets to the NFL? Because these are college guys. It's at Virginia Tech. It's not the best competition that you face in college. And so, like, yeah, that works. Then is he going to have like a next gear to turn on? He hasn't really. He still has this. He looks the same, but now he's just doing it to the best athletes in the world. The guy is just a unique specimen.
It's like when you watch those old like karate movies where like you see the guy run in at the karate master and he just pushed him out the way.
Steven Seagal.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like how Mr. Miyagi would tell him wax on, wax off, and then the whole like Bruce Lee like be water. It feels like Christian Darrisaw is water, where he's just like it's effortless to him. Like you guys said, he just reacts and flows with however the defender moves, and he uses their force against them. I've somehow gone from Steven Seagal to Bruce Lee to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like it's a Jedi using the force. Like he just swats hands down, you end up on the ground, next play. Just
everything is short. Everything is short and everything is violent. Like the guys who do big movements, to your point, Mike, the guys who are jumping out of their stance and big, loud body language, he is tight. He is, as Harry Heastan used to say, armless from the back. And when you watch great offensive linemen, their elbows are tucked in here in the run game. In the pass game, you don't see their arms from the back because it's within the framework of their body, but it's the run game stuff, particularly on the backside. You can spring a play 5 yards to 50 yards if you've got a backside tackle or a backside offensive guard who's willing to get guys down, willing to go take the right angle. They've got that in Darrisaw. I just wanted to tip my cap to them. And if O'Neal is going to be banged up, you're going to need a mute button at left tackle because you're going to need to allocate some of those resources. The second thing, Justin Herbert, without his 2 tackles, is just not safe. He's just not safe. And we're going to talk about that more, right, JP? We're going to get into that some more. So I'll let you throw the fastball on that. And moving on to my third topic, the Eagles are hurting again up front, and it's been this way. And we've been trying to whisper it, have we not? We've been whispering this about the Philadelphia Eagles. I know that A.J. Brown's great, and we can find more creative ways to get him the ball. And Devontae is pissed off too, and Saquon's at 2.5 yards a carry. But guys, the answer's right there in front of us. It's not going to be the Philadelphia Eagles we remember unless these guys go into the Matt Stafford clone RV and figure out a way to get a healthy version of Landon Dickerson, figure out a way to get a healthy version of Lane Johnson, albeit Lane Johnson, I don't know what percentage he's at, but he was lighting it up the other day. He looked like Lane Johnson. But if Landon Dickerson is not healthy and he got rolled up again, so that's the third, fourth time Landon's been in trouble. If Steen and Lane or whoever's in for Lane don't have a good understanding of where to fit on the double teams, getting guys off the ball. It's obvious they missed Mekhi Becton, but this is not the same group. that was dominant on first and second down in the National Football League last year. This is not the same group that allowed Saquon Barkley to be untouched until 4.5 yards. So the superhero, the superhuman type performances we saw last year from this offense, that just ain't going to happen. I'm not saying they're not a good team. They're just not the same team. So don't expect that. And, kind of hit the reset button and form your own opinions on watching this team, because they ain't them. They ain't the guys that they were last year. Okay, that was my trench take, sponsored by Nationwide. Nationwide, so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies, too. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
I think the point you had about the Eagles and their offensive line is such a good one, especially because, like you said, they run the ball on early downs. There's nothing really much that has changed about the formula for the Eagles offensively when it comes to run-pass splits. And we mentioned it on Sunday. The Eagles are still one of the least pass-heavy teams on early downs in the NFL. They're 31st last year, 31st this year. The problem is last year they were first in the NFL in EPA per carry. This year they've gone down to 13th. And while you might say, oh, that's still like top half of the league, going from first to 13th in a year changes a lot of math. It changes a lot of stuff. The yards before carry has gone down on early downs. And it's not just that. It's the fact that they're not being able to punish light boxes like they used to last year. So now that you can't punish light boxes with the run game like you did last year because Landon Dickerson is hurt and Tyler Seen just isn't Mekhi Becton, you have a new problem, which is how are you going to remain efficient on early downs? So in this game against the Broncos, they leaned into sort of the RPO stuff. But again, that only lasts you however long until the Broncos sort of just figured it out. And once they figured it out, they realized the Eagles can't run the ball. And that's how you lose a 17-3 lead and lose the game. You can't run the ball.
They may be in trouble, and we're going to get to that in our further review segment a little later. All right, JP, let's hit your playbook.
All right, so first play of the playbook, we are going to the Devin Lloyd pick six because I actually think it was a great call by Anthony Campanelli to combat a play that the Chiefs use a lot in the red zone. So the Chiefs really like this play called trail. It's a trail follow route. I drew it up right here. It's not exactly to scale, but that inside guy is Travis Kelce. What they do is they take advantage of the speed of their wide receiver on the outside and Travis Kelce's ability to change direction, and they basically put linebackers in a bind. And Patrick Mahomes is so good in the quick game that he just makes those decisions instantly. So what Campanelli and the Jaguars did is they lined up everybody at the line of scrimmage. It looks like they're going to bring the house. It's the goal line. It's like, we got to make sure he gets this ball out quick or he's getting sacked. Patrick Mahomes sees this and is like, all right, I know I'm going to get this ball out to the shallow because they're in zero coverage, and the shallow isn't coming from Tyquan Thornton, number 80. It's coming from Juju Smith-Schuster. So Travis Hunter has to run around all this traffic and try and tackle Juju Smith-Schuster before he gets to the end zone. However, what happens when the ball is snapped is Devon Hamilton and Devin Lloyd are reading the action of Creed Humphrey, the center. If he goes out to block Devon Hamilton, Devin Lloyd drops into coverage. If he goes to block Devin Lloyd, Devon Hamilton drops in coverage. I think on this play, both guys ended up just dropping, which I think is hilarious. But you can see that Devin Lloyd has vision on Patrick Mahomes. He has been one of the best spot droppers in the NFL this year at the linebacker spot because he's so good at reading the quarterback's eyes, which is something he did at Utah a lot. And we're going to get to Devin Lloyd later on upon further review. But he gets to this play, and he's able to jump in front of this window because Patrick Mahomes is thinking, throw the shallow route. Because he saw the blitz early, and Lloyd jumps back out. He makes the play, and he takes off for a 99-yard pick six. It was one of the most incredible moments as a Jaguars fan, because that never happens to Jaguars. You never 99-yard pick six, the best quarterback in the game. But it was a great call by Anthony Campanelli, who's been really good. And then Devin Lloyd is having a Defensive Player of the Year type of campaign.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of play that it's pure gameplay. I mean, it's purely, I know what they like to go to in the low red, and I have a call that can bait him. And the fact that it got, executed so well is testament to just how Devin Lloyd's been playing, man. I mean, he has been possessed all season long, 4 picks now in 5 games. He was one of those guys coming out of college where it's just like, if he doesn't work out in the NFL, I have no clue how to scout because his tape was so good. He had enough traits. It's like, if he's not good in the NFL, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with linebacker. And so, well, we're sitting here and the guy's probably front runner for defensive player of the year through the first 5 weeks.
Taking things away that are not supposed to be there. Taking things away that are supposed to be there. That's what the best linebackers on earth, people think linebackers, they think, oh, that guy hits hard or, blah, 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 blah. No, it's the brainy ones that drive you crazy. It's the brainy ones who are just athletic enough to ruin anything. And I remember playing a guy like Luke Kuechly. We ran middle screen in Carolina, and Kuechly was at the point of contact before I was because he sees it. This guy, Devin Lloyd, studies, okay, because they ran this play a couple of weeks ago, and Travis Kelce caught a touchdown between 2 defenders, and that's what you expect out of 87. You can throw him a contested ball. He's going to put his back to one defender and strong arm it out of the other guy's hands. Go figure. Patrick saw the same thing Travis did, but Devin saw it before everybody saw it, and that's what makes it the JP's Playbook. Well done, dude.
All right, so in this next one, I'm going to need Kyle's help a little bit. This is Justin Herbert, Bradley Bozeman, and what being hot means.
Yep.
All right. So, Harry, our producer Harry, can you play the audio of what happens before this play? It is empty protection, like it shows here, 2nd and 5. Harry, can you... No! All right. You hear Justin Herbert immediately scream no right before the ball is snapped. But what happens, and what's really important, is what happens before Justin Herbert yells no. Because on this play, he's pointing at Frankie Louvu and saying, we are hot if he's blitzing. So he wants the offensive line to slide the other way because he knows that he has the answer if Frankie Louvu blitzes, because he is the most dangerous off-ball blitzer for Washington. You prepare for a guy like Frankie Louvu in your game prep, and you have plays designed to beat him as the hot blitzer. Bradley Bozeman sees... Like you see the center, Bradley Bozeman center. He sees Justin Herbert pointing to Frankie Louvu, and instead of thinking, "Oh, that's our hot guy," he's going, "Oh, you're pointing to Frankie Louvu. We'll
get the 5-0. Get 5 down guys blocked. You got Louvu here, who's a known rusher, JP. So in our blitz meetings, we're like, we got to know where this sucker is because he can get home. Well, in this instance, you've got 4 down linemen. You've got the overhang guy with Louvu. And when Herbert tells you we are hot off of him, that is a sigh of relief from the offensive line because now we can get to our, R, L, whatever it is that your call is, sliding Bozeman somewhere. In this case, you could totally see, given the right guard help with the 3 technique. 3 technique usually a little bit more feisty than the 2-eye. So I'm going down block for the left guard, money block on the left side on the end. You got money on the right side as well. And the right guard can go shoot his gun at this 3 technique, knowing he's got his center in his back pocket. All because when Justin Herbert says we are hot off of 4, it tells us that is Justin Herbert's responsibility. Do not even think about him existing right now. Justin's going to make us right. And, I mean, I haven't seen the play, but if Louvu comes here, the left tackle picks up that defensive end, our guy in the slot down here is going to be booty naked open, okay? And that's the hot throw. You throw it to the defender who is making a decision because his decision dictates your decision. And I apologize for swearing, Harry. I said booty, I said naked, but we're talking O-line. We're going to get a little raw.
So that is actually a great point, Kyle, because Frankie Louvu is actually not the guy who blitzes. Justin Herbert is saying, let me be hot off of Louvu because he wants them to slide the other way. Because what happens is Mikey Sainristil in the slot is actually the guy who ends up blitzing. And what happens when you roll the play is Sainristil is going to be the blitzer, and that forces the right guard into a 2v1 choice. Now, in this situation, you're like, what do you do? Because you got gamed. And that's why Justin Herbert yells no right before the snap, because he's like, we got gamed. I have to try and figure out the answer here. But what happens is the right guard blocks the nickel instead of Daron Payne. And that is not where you want to go. You want to leave the little guy unblocked because Justin Herbert is 6'5", 240. Like, he can make that guy miss. You're not going to miss. You're not going to make Daron Payne miss. And what makes this even worse is Tyler Conklin, number 83, the guy that Frankie Louvu was defending. He's got to step on him. He's got to step. Ladd McConkey is running this option route at the bottom of the screen against Bobby Wagner. You're thinking, if they block this correctly, you have Bobby Wagner defending Ladd McConkey in the slot. This could be an explosive on 2nd and 5. It ends up Justin Herbert has to throw an incompletion. 3rd and 5, I think he ends up getting sacked on this play. They got to give the ball away. It's just one of those moments where you're like, this is what hot means when you are in empty. If you're hot, that means it's the quarterback's responsibility. You don't slide to that guy because that's the quarterback's job. But instead, they slid the other way, and it's just a microcosm of what's happened to the Chargers this season.
And it's also just a perfect explanation of I just walked you through what I would have thought and believed pre-snap based on where Louvu was, based on where the 4 down linemen are. Every play in the National Football League is like the defense is trying to give the you know when you got to give your dog a pill and you put it in cheese. So like they're like, here, take this cheese, and I'm like, wait, there's a pill in there, isn't it? I don't want to eat that cheese. That's not normal cheese. And then you get a bite of the edge of it, and you're like, okay, we're good. Hot off of Louvu, and then it's like, oh my God, there's a pill in there, and the pill is spinning to the slot, the nickel coming down in your B gap. And to your point, always block the big guy. Always block the big guy.
So, Kyle, I have a question for you on this play. So that he obviously screams no. Bozeman says, God damn it. I think it's Bozeman that says, God damn it, immediately after. How does this ball still get snapped?
Look, that was the one place on the field they did not allow me to play was center. Because there's a lot of stuff going on there at center. I was a guard. I was a telephone guy. You tell me what's going on and I'll make it right. I do not envy centers, Mike. I don't know how they get this play off. But at the end of the day, snapping is the first thing that has to happen. And obviously blocking the big guys is the second thing that has to happen. They didn't get that done.
So also on this play, again, 2nd and 5, when they snap the ball, there's like 6 seconds left.
That's what I'm saying. Why, after a quarterback screams no, what's the communication that the ball just gets snapped? Is he snapping on the no, or what's going on there?
They may have already been in their cadence.
Okay.
The hard part is when you're half wide 80. What? Hey, we're good. 42 is the mic. Okay. And now we restart the wide 80. Some centers, some guards, we've already heard one wide 80. Whatever the next one is, we're going. Maybe there was some other form of communication. His muscle memory is like, that thing's coming out. Again, I didn't play center, but I've been part of some of these botched cadences, botched pre-snap communications, and there's really never a good explanation for it. It's always, I thought or I felt. Well, sometimes you're wrong, and sometimes thing gets a little haywire.
And then on that play, the right guard also taps the center and is like, all right, it's time to go. That's it. Like he's also looking back at Justin Herbert, who is still making that call. And when he yells no, he's tapping him like, all right, it's time to go.
We're going.
Like, again, it's ready to go. So it's a whole lot of missteps that stem from one just miscommunication on who's hot and what the hot means.
You know what you do in that situation? When you don't know, you just go 5-0. First 5 guys that come, inside guys that come, we're blocking them. Left tackle, you're going vertical. If somebody comes inside of that edge rusher, that's yours. And our boys got to get the ball off. Right tackle, you're staying on, swell up. Get the inside guys, and you got to trust that a guy like Justin Herbert can make it happen.
All right, let's get to my rookie report. Great playbook from JP, as always.
JP.
I'm going to start with Cam Ward because the Titans won a game, and it wasn't because of too many other guys other than Cam Ward in this game. His fourth quarter was spectacular, man. I mean, it was everything you'd want from a franchise quarterback. 3 scores now, One of them was admittedly a pick, fumble recovery score, but he led them to that point. It was a tip pass. It probably wasn't the best decision if you go back and watch the All-22. Like, I don't think it was going to be picked, but he was really trying to stuff in a guy who was pretty closely guarded in the end zone. But that's also what you have to do. And what I think what makes me so excited about Cam Ward, given his progression so far, given this game, is that he is trying to make plays. A lot of young quarterbacks will get sunk by poor supporting cast. They will go into a shell. They will get conservative. It will look like it's too much for them. Cam Ward's numbers aren't great, but it's because the talent around him isn't great. Like 51.8 completion percentage, I don't think he's necessarily been inaccurate. That's Anthony Richardson level numbers. He's not Anthony Richardson level accuracy when you watch him on tape. The guy's still making plays, still making throws into tight windows. It's just every throw is seemingly a tight window throw. But on that fourth quarter, he had 3 different throws that I thought were just spectacular. One was a drive throw to Calvin Ridley, splitting cover 2 on a post route that was 40 plus yards downfield, and he didn't have to put air on it. He drove one to that level of football field. And that's why, a lot of times we talk about arm talent in the pre-draft process. Where does it show up? It shows up on that. If you had to put air on that throw, if you have to throw that like a lead deep ball, 40 plus yards down the football field, the safeties are getting involved. There's no window. If you can drive it in there the way Cam Ward did, that's a window, and it was spectacular. He had then a throw on that same drive. He's getting hit, wheel route to his tight end, I believe, puts it just right in a bucket on the sideline, gets him down to the 1 yard line. And then obviously on the final drive, the Calvin Ridley throw, it's a third down, gotta have it, go ball, only spot you can, not only spot, there were some spots you could put it that because Calvin Ridley finally won a route, but it was in the exact perfect spot to get a big play off of that. So when you watch Cam Ward and you see the stats and it's not looking good, he still has more picks and touchdowns. Just know that there is still special on a weekly basis. It's just going to need time. One, I still think there are some issues to his game. I think getting to second and third reads, you still see him behind a little in what you would want ideally. But man, if you're a Titans fan, you got to be excited about this dude.
Honestly, the biggest thing that really sold me on Cam Ward is last week. And I'm going to quote, sorry, Harry, he said, to keep it a buck, we ass. He is saying that we suck. And for Cam Ward to say that and be able to be that honest and still say we have to be better and I have to be better, that's a player you can rally around. I still do think Cam Ward's got a little bit of inconsistencies, like you said, with getting to the second and third read. And I think there are times where you really just want him to be okay, just let the play die. But you'd rather coach a guy down from that than coach a guy up to trying to get him to be explosive and throwing into tight windows. But he's made a lot of throws in his short time in the NFL that are really impressive. He has been reckless to a fault in the NFL, but that's a guy that, with his mentality, he's going to want to win a lot of games in Tennessee. So they're going to give him a long time, and I'm hopeful that he plays well.
I hate to compare everything to offensive line, but I was there when Trey Smith got drafted to Chicago or Kansas City, and I'll tell you this, you can't teach talent. You just can't teach talent. There were a million things that Andy Heck crawled up his ass about technically, schematically, all that stuff. But out of the box, there are just some guys that have it. And Cam Ward, with his arm talent, has always got a chance. And if he can clean up some of the stuff that you guys are talking about, he is going to be a lot of fun to watch for a long time.
All right, let's get to my other rookie. Nick Amanwari. We finally got to see him. 4 snaps in week 1, got hurt, came back this week, and was probably the only bright spot on the Seahawks defense. Obviously, they gave up 38 points. It wasn't a great play for them. But his play in the slot was, in my opinion, reminiscent of Kyle Hamilton early on in his career. And now it's 1 game, it's 39 snaps, I believe, or 43 snaps. But what he can do around the line of scrimmage, just basically being that bridge between cornerback and weak side linebacker that the nickel positions kind of turned into, I was super impressed with, because physically the guy was erasing screens left and right. And even when it was like a tight end out there trying to block him on a screen or a wide run, he was getting off those blocks. I mean, he's 6'3", 227. The guy a decade ago would have been a safety for like every team in the NFL. No way you would have put this guy as a nickel. But that's just kind of where that position has gone, because no one plays base anymore. And I think he could be what the Seahawks need at that position. I'm just very excited to see how they treat the secondary once Devon Witherspoon comes back, because obviously Devon Witherspoon, one of the best nickels in the NFL, but he can also play outside. I mean, you get drafted 5th overall as primarily an outside corner at Illinois. That's what he can. He's just a great cover guy on the whole. He's so good in the slot because he's so feisty, but like that works on the outside too. So I think they have an interesting decision on their hands, but I love what I saw from Nick Emanwari and what he could be to the Seattle Seahawks defense going forward.
It's so hard to find guys like Nick Emanwari, and even when there are going to be lapses, I think that he was sort of an odd player at South Carolina, where like he was this big athletic freak of a player, but also felt like he really kind of struggled inside the box as like in terms of his play and his eyes in the box. But when you have him out at nickel, when you have him playing in space, he reads things a lot quicker. And that stood out at South Carolina. The range and then the ability to diagnose from space, from depth, is really what stood out instead of being closer to the action. And so I think if you have him at nickel, where you can kind of play him in a lot of different ways, like you said, it's like Kyle Hamilton. Not saying that he is going to be Kyle Hamilton, but it's very similar to how Mike McDonald used him. I think you have a good problem in Seattle with their secondary, where you have Devin Witherspoon, you have Emanwari, you have whatever's going on at the second corner spot. It feels like Reek Woolen might be on the way out, but Josh Jobe has played well. Whatever they choose there, and then you have your Kobe Bryant and Julian Love at safety. You have a good problem at secondary, and Emanwari is a part of that.
All right. Yeah, Nick Emanwari is just – I'm very excited to see how he develops, because you don't get guys with his physical tools a lot. It doesn't there's only a handful that exist ever. And to do what to look like that this early on, not to say he's going to do it every single week, but like, he's going to be a guy that's difficult to throw those wide screens, to throw those easy layups that a lot of teams love to do nowadays. It ain't going to happen against Nick Emanwari.
We got to do those jerseys every week.
That too, for sure. All right, let's get to the upon further review. But first, we'll take a quick break right after this.
You can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, our upon further review this week is going to be a little bit different. We are going to say out a statement, and then we're going to say it's either confirmed, which means we wholeheartedly believe it. It stands, which means, we just don't know. Or we're overturning it, where we're saying, no, it's wrong. That statement we completely disagree with. So, first one here on the docket. The Ravens, the 1-4 Ravens are cooked.
It's tough. I actually think I'm going to overturn this one.
Ooh.
I think I'm overturning it because if you look at their schedule once they get back from the bye, it is incredibly winnable.
Here, I can read it out for you. Let me read it out.
Yeah.
So it's Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. So it's like Packers is probably the only team that's like guaranteed playoffs, and then 2 Steelers to basically make up the ground you need to make up against the only other competition in the division.
Yeah, and I think even without Nnamdi Madubuike, who is not coming back for this season, that is going to be a major loss in the middle of that defense. But as long as you have Lamar Jackson, like the offense has been volatile and still scored 30 points a game with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. I think they are going to find a way to outscore a lot of guys, especially once they get Patrick Ricard and Jackson back. That offense is still going to be very good. And if you can get this team playing with a lead, maybe it'll help. I also think that the Ravens defense has always done better in the second half of the season. It took the second half of the season last year for them to really turn it around. Mike McDonald helped that defense turn around the second half of his first year before everything kind of gelled together. So I'm going to hesitantly overturn this one, but I do want to see what this team looks like when Lamar gets back after the bye.
I'm going to take this one to commercial break because it needs more time for us to look at it. And look, you said this offense, they can play, the Ravens team, they can play with a lead. Yeah, they can take a lead. Bro, they got a lead early in the season, and we saw what happened against Buffalo. And obviously some bad hops there for this Baltimore defense. But that was their shot. Ronnie Stanley, Pat Ricard, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry's on a milk carton. And for those of you who were born in, past 2000, if you're on a milk carton, that means you're missing. And there are guys on the defensive side of the ball who have been perennial studs for this team that they need to wake up a little bit, because you're going to blink. It's going to be 4 weeks down the road. Lamar's still going to be trying to figure out the hamstring. Stanley's still not going to be 100%. Pat Ricard being out of your offense changes everything. If you watch the Ravens, they use the fullback. Okay, Pat Ricard's a big part of that offense if he's not in there. I have real concerns about this Ravens team. I have been amazed at the run that they've had, where every year they are in that elite conversation. It's not that they have different guys now. It's just that we see how hard it is to stretch winning over the course of a decade, over a half a decade. And the Ravens are dealing with it now. Matabike being out is massive for that defensive front.
I'm going to say it stands for this reason. Their expectation wasn't just playoffs. They could sneak in. They could go 8-3 after the bye, go to 9-8, and sneak in the last wild card. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. This team isn't getting to the Super Bowl in the AFC, though. They're just not. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Their defense is a disaster right now. The offensive line, if Rodney Stanley's banged up, is not good enough either. Lamar Jackson is going to be under a ton of pressure behind him. Your guard position is, as we've said, their biggest weakness, and looks like it through the first 5 weeks of the season. And that was the goal. That was this season. That was the talent you had on this roster heading into week one. That was the goal. And it's not going to, it's just, I don't think it's going to happen. Knowing the AFC is great, but when you are the 7th seed or the 6th seed trying to roll through the playoffs, it just ain't going to be good for this Ravens team. So I can say it stands because of that. They're not done in terms of making the playoffs, but I do think they ain't making the Super Bowl this season. All right, next one here. This one was yours, Kyle. Coaches should never hit players. Jonathan Gannon obviously got a little in a tiff. He had was a little upset at Emily Mercado after the fumble, and well, get a little physical on the sideline. Give him a little punch in the chest, or like a little slap.
Yeah, that's how you used to hang up a phone in the 1990s when you were pissed off at the person on the other side. The way he just slammed that phone into his. Look, dude, we always say it's a sign of the times when you start passing the play calling responsibilities around, right? There's a few red flags in the National Football League that are like, up, I can see it. The volcano's gonna erupt. Slapping players, dropping the ball at the goal line, blowing leads. There's a hurricane coming in Arizona, and you can feel it. I can feel it. And the big thing is, keep your hands off me, okay? I had a coach by the name of Aaron Kromer, and I reference him often. Aaron Kromer was a former player, and it kind of blurs the line between coach and player when you've got a former player talking to you. And I know Gannon played the game as well, but Aaron Kromer, when I was a rookie, he used to come over there and do a temperature check with me when our defense was on the field. And sometimes there would be a drive he didn't like from me. He didn't like the way I was blocking. And he'd be like, I need you to put your hands on the guy. Well, one time he came up and he hemmed me up. I was like on the bench, like I had to dip in, like head down, and he hemmed me up. And I looked up immediately, and I jumped up at him and grabbed him by the scruff of his shirt. And I was like, he goes, quit hitting guys like that. And I got up and hemmed him, and I said, I'm hitting him like this. And he goes, that's what I'm talking about. And I was like, oh, that was an intentional prodding by Aaron Cromer. That's not what that was. That's not what we saw in Arizona. What we saw in Arizona was a head coach boiling over, taking much understood frustration out on a player. That ain't good. I don't like it at all. There's only a handful of ways you should be able to thank you, Harry. That was a brilliant transition to the tweet. Slapping my helmet in a good way. Attaboy, 7'5". Let's see some fun. Let's block, big guy. Two-hand down slap on the shoulder pad before a drive, before a game. That's the Jim Harbaugh special. And then the old supportive butt slap. Get out there, kid. Big play, chest, push, two hands. When the DB gets a pick, he runs to the sideline and he gets near pointed by the coach, and they almost both fall over. That's awesome. I love that. But when you walk up to me and you put your hands on me in any other way than that, you better expect to see me on the bus, in the facility parking lot. When we get back to the facility and the buses drop us off, I know where your meeting room is. You know where my locker is. We can handle this. You never want to challenge somebody like that or embarrass somebody like that.
I'm also going to uphold this. I'm going to confirm it. Whatever we got to do I emphatically agree here. What emotion do you think does Jonathan Gannon think he's bringing out of Emery DeMarcado that he's not already feeling in that moment? I think the context of having Paris Johnson, Will Hernandez, both consoling him as he's walking up, at boiling over at him. What emotion do you think you're going to get out of him by riling him up and hitting him like that? What do you think is going to happen? You think it's magically going to just make everything better? It's going to magically bring back the fumble that he dropped? He already knows he's going to be on every highlight, every low light reel. He's going to be on SportsCenter for all the wrong reasons. And he's also not a guaranteed starter. He might have almost lost his job with that play. What emotion do you think you are bringing out of him by doing that? There's no reason for it. You can be angry. You can be angry at a player without putting your hands on them. But in that moment, he doesn't need you to be angry at him. The score is 21-6. Like, you cannot let this boil over and let that become the reason that you lose, which it did. The score ended up being 22-21, and they fell apart because of that play.
There was no emotion. I mean, it was a lack of emotional control. It was just rage. It was not anything productive that he was trying to do.
Is what it was.
And Kyle, you're going to hate this, but I feel like Jonathan Gannon and Ben Johnson have the same energy. I feel like they have very similar energy.
You're right. You got a little, if I put the over-under at half for striking a player this year, I might have to sprinkle a little bit on something for both sides.
Those are your front runners right now. They just have like a quiet.
Liam Cohen wants to hit somebody too.
Oh, he's so the boiling point.
Coaches,
you can see it because his face gets red. His face gets red every time Trevor runs above the line of scrimmage and throws the ball or takes a delay of game, and it's just like, all right.
One more delay of game, Trevor's getting yanked by his hair at some point. I'm just saying.
All right, next upon further review, the Lions don't miss their coordinators.
I am going to uphold this. I said before the season, maybe the real person behind the juice for that offense wasn't Ben Johnson, but it was Dan Campbell. That offense is Dan Campbell's offense. He is the one who has all the ideas, not all the ideas, but he is the one who sets the foundation for the offense. Ben Johnson adds all the pillars. It's like building a house. He adds the pillars. He adds some of the other extra stuff that you might see on a really nice house. Dan Campbell's the foundation. Regardless of who is building up on that foundation, if you have a good foundation, you're going to win a lot of football games. That house is not going anywhere for a long time. And I think the Lions, it is a testament to their culture and to their head coach and the talent on that team that they are still one of the best teams in football with one of the best offenses in football. You know, they're still going to end up giving up big plays on defense because of how much man coverage they play, and they currently have Rock Ya-Sin playing corner. But this team is always going to be in it because of their head coach and because of the promotion that they have had from within.
Dude, it's the culture. You said it. It's the guys they bring into the building. And Brad Holmes is as big a part of this as anybody. I mean, you identify people that are butt kickers. See, Harry, I caught myself. You identify people that are butt kickers, you get them in the building, and you put them around other alphas and watch what happens. When your biggest – this takes nothing away from the offensive line. When the biggest alpha in your offense is your receiver, you're in a really good place. I mean, you could be two different things. If your biggest alpha is your receiver, you could be in trouble. But if you're in Detroit, when you've got these young guys on the offensive line proving themselves, mixed with veterans who have been there for a decade, you've got a quarterback who's not fazed by anything. You've got a head coach who knows exactly what he has in his football team. You're going to be in a really good spot. And I would say the ruling on the field stands, touchdown Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell draws up another winner. And look, I give credit to Johnny Morton too for just in the preseason, how many questions were asked to John Morton, tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic about the fact that the boy wonder wasn't there anymore, Ben Johnson. And John Morton said, I'm going to run the offense that Dan Campbell wants to run, and that's what we're going to run. And, oh, boy, it's working. It's working. Anakin Skywalker, it's working. That's the Lions, dude. Sometimes it just pays to have good players, particularly up front, and a quarterback who can see the game and understands the why, and a receiver who's willing to dig somebody out, make a tough catch over the middle, a guy in Jameson Williams who can literally run by everybody. You got a really great blend of things in Detroit. It's going to be that defensive side of the ball that determines whether or not they can make a run at the Lombardi.
Yeah, I think you have to say it stands right now. I think defensively, with what Aaron Glenn's doing, like they may be doing better. But offensively, I think just TBD on offense. We'll see how they do down the stretch this season. If they can continue to innovate, continue to stay at the bleeding edge of the curve without Ben Johnson. But as it stands right now, it's just like Dan Campbell and the talent that they've put together in this roster and like the leaders they put together in this roster, I think is the big thing that sticks out is that their culture is culture is kind of a symbiotic relationship. You can say it all you want. If you don't have guys who will live it, you're not going to have the results. They have brought in guys that live it. And so you have so many leaders on this football field that, gosh, they haven't missed a beat. This looks like the same team. This looks like the team we thought we would get last year when they were fully healthy. And that's awesome to see for Detroit.
Real quick before we get off of Detroit, a couple of things. I do want to shout out Hank Fraley, offensive line coach. The fact that they have been able to keep the beat going on for that offensive line outside of week one, like the beat has rolled on for that offensive line. And it's a shout out to Hank Fraley. And second thing, I think according to Tom Pelissero this morning, Terrion Arnold's shoulder injury is likely to be season ending. So that is now DJ Reed on long-term IR, Terrion Arnold, season-ending injury. Right now, they have Amik Robertson, Rock Ya-Sin, Avonte Maddox, and I think Trey Flowers as their four corners. So it's looking like last year a little bit again.
Oh no!
Hey, where the rubber will meet the road with this offense, where we will really find out if they are 7-karat gold or whatever, is in the gotta have it situation in the conference championship. They will find a way to get to the conference championship based on how they score points. Do they have the right answer schematically? And that's where the Ben Johnson stuff would have come into play. But this team, the floor is extremely high because of their offense, because of the guys they brought in the building, and great tip of the cap to Hank Fraley as well.
They have a nice stretch coming up here. Chiefs, Bucks, Vikings, Commanders, Eagles. we'll find out a lot about the Detroit Lions over the next 5 weeks there. All right. Next one here. The Bengals should change quarterbacks. I'm just going to start. Confirmed. I think we're all going to confirm this. No one wants to see Jake Brown take another snap at this point.
Jabu wins.
Hey,
That's the thing is they're not out of it. They're not out of it. Why not go? Like, what is it? What will it take to get Jameis Winston from New York? They have no intention to play Jameis Winston. A sixth? Why not?
My thing with Jameis is also kind of admitting that you are out of it. you're just ready to have some fun, because Jameis Winston with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins probably going to throw 50 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's also going to throw 80 interceptions.
That's an asses and seats move.
Yes, you are just trying to make sure Jamar Chase and T. Higgins stay happy and getting targets, and you're making sure that people are still excited about this offense and be like, oh, it looks good. Just wait until Joe Burrow gets back. Right now, they don't have anything going for them. So I think Browning, it's kind of run its course a little bit, but I guess the big thing is who do you go get?
Yeah, I mean, I am not going and getting Kirk Cousins. Just absolutely not. People floating that. No, thank you. I'm not getting Shedeur either. I mean, Jameis Winston's the best, most gettable, most palatable, or like most. What's the word I'm trying to think of? It fits what they want to do, which is just sling it. Just
sling it.
Like it fits their talent. It's the best fit. There you go. So outside of that, I'm not like putting Mike White in there. I'm not going to one of their backups, but it's just unfortunate that this is what we got to sit through as the Bengals right now. All right.
What I'm doing if I'm the Bengals is I'm contacting anybody that's ever been in contact with Josh McCown or Kevin O'Connell. And I'm saying, come play quarterback for me, because I know that everybody that goes in there, it's like drinking out of the waters of Lake Minnetonka. You've washed away your sins. Okay. And we've seen it time and time again now. All right. Get one of those guys. Get an O'Connell disciple, somebody who's been touched by McCown.
We don't necessarily need to go that far, but okay.
Well, we just said coaches can touch you if it's in support.
Okay. Yes, supportly touched. All right, next one here. The Eagles' offense can be fixed.
I'm going to say stands. I'm not going to confirm it, but I'm going to say stands. I think it can be fixed largely because the biggest fix is getting Landon Dickerson back healthy, because I think that changes a lot. I mean, Dickerson went out in the second or third drive of the Eagles game and everything fell apart. But their biggest issue right now is they don't have an identity. The stuff that used to work for the Eagles no longer works. The thing that they did so well is they force teams to ask questions when they are in too high. If you're going to stay in too high to defend the explosive pass, can you defend the run, not only with Saquon Barkley, but with Jalen Hurts as a designed runner? Now, you're not going to break the glass on the Jalen Hurts run game. I don't think that's going to happen, because he has gotten injured before, and you want to make sure he is ready for the playoff run that they're eventually going to go on. But you got to find a way to be more efficient when you're facing too high and you're facing lighter boxes. They have not punished light boxes like they have in seasons before. Does that mean going to the RPO gimmicky stuff? It probably does, because that has worked for the Eagles before, and it worked for the first part of the game against the Broncos. But I think they still have to be able to run the ball and finish the game. That is their identity. And if they can't do that, then maybe, they can't fix it. But right now, I'm going to say stands until we get Landon Dickerson back healthy and see what happens.
I'm going to say we need to go to commercial break and get more information, because as you have so eloquently put, a lot of their issues are up front, and it has to do with health, and that takes time. It depends on how healthy they are at the end when the games start to matter, and they all matter, but you know which ones I'm talking about. And I'll just say I'm going to stay off of this and say I told you it ain't going to happen if the O-line's not healthy, and that's about it.
I'm going to say overturned. I don't think it can be fixed to the degree we saw last year, right? When the Super Bowl championship game, where they were so dominant. I just don't think what Kellen Moore did last year, what they were doing as an offense, really only works when you have an utterly dominant running game, in my opinion. Like, you don't have that. And it just isn't going to be, even if Landon Dickerson comes back, I don't think he's going to ever be like fully healthy to the guy we saw last season. And obviously Mekhi Becton isn't walking through that door either. And honestly, like the way just injuries work, like you'll probably get more, unfortunately, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. And Saquon Barkley has a knee injury that he's hampering himself that just came out this week. So it's like that team isn't walking, that running game isn't walking through that door. So then everything that was predicated off of it is just going to take a step back. So yeah, they're not going to be a terrible offense. You're never going to be a terrible offense. You're too talented to be a terrible offense. But it ain't going to be the unit that won them the Super Bowl. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you're facing some units now that are dominant, whether it's the Detroit Lions team that we just talked about, this Bucs offense and how they look, the Packers and what they've been. You're facing a much tougher stretch of teams that I don't think the offense can be fixed to that degree. All right, last one, and we'll get out of here upon further review. Linebackers have the hardest transition to the NFL of any position.
I'm going to say it stands, because playing linebackers really hard in the NFL right now, with all the Shanahan and McVay clones running around doing all the boot action and all the play action stuff over the middle of the field. You're getting high load to absolute oblivion. It's so hard to be an instant impact player in the NFL linebacker, which is why guys like Carson Schlesinger are really cool, because they are instant impact players. But you think about a guy like Devin Lloyd, who was actively trying to be replaced. The Jaguars tried replacing Devin Lloyd multiple times in his career. They drafted Chad Muma that same year with the intention of potentially him being the next Devin Lloyd replacement. Then you kept adding guys that linebacker spot early. So the fact that it's come around late for him, this is something that we have seen in linebackers recently. You think about Jamie Sherwood for the Jets. You think about guys like you think about a lot of guys in the NFL at linebacker who really have sort of turned it around once the game slows down. Once you really get that game to slow down, it looks a lot different, because everything is so fast. Windows that you think you could close at the college level are now open in the NFL, because you have guys like Patrick Mahomes who can get any pass into any window. So I think it is I'd argue it's the most difficult position to transition to on defense. And I'd argue it's one of the most difficult positions to transition to in the NFL.
Take a look at how many linebackers. Okay, so I agree with you. Linebacker is really hard. I wouldn't say that it is the hardest, but I will notice this about linebackers. The really good ones in the NFL are really old. And there's a reason for that. Because just like quarterbacks transitioning from college that have been to 4 universities, that have started for 6 years, they've seen the game, and you can't really fool them on the mental aspect. So I think about guys like Wagner and so many of these great linebackers that have been playing 12, 15 years. It didn't feel like that for them year one. I mean, it's like playing Frogger, okay? There's a million things you can get hit by. You're just trying to get across the road safely. I think it's a good conversation, but defensive tackle has to be hard just from a physical standpoint. I think about the offensive line. Now the best player you played maybe once in your college career is over you every play. And when he's tired, they bring another guy in. He's coming too. You're not involved on every tackle or every coverage element as the linebacker. You are involved every play as a down guy. So I'll throw my lineman in the ring for this hardest transition conversation.
I'm going to say stands, just because how many guys you've seen. We talk about, obviously, quarterbacks probably up there in this conversation. And we talk about Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and how it's taken them as long as it has to really become franchise quarterbacks. But linebacker in recent years has had a lot of similar guys. You've had guys like Devondre Campbell turn into an all-pro in like year 6. You've had Zach Bond turn into an all-pro on his second contract. Divine Diablo this year is a guy who looks like a completely different guy in his 5th year playing the position. Drew Tranquil for the Chiefs. Second contract he gets. It's a tiny contract. All of a sudden, he looks like a Pro Bowl-esque linebacker. It's just a position that, with so much that offenses are throwing at you nowadays, it's so different than how the game was played 20 years ago, linebacker, where you were basically playing in a phone booth. You were either going straight forward or straight backwards. Like that was it. Now you are lateral. You are every single area of that football field basically has to be covered by linebackers, and they're throwing motions at you. They're throwing shifts at you. You got to do so much. And if you are not up to speed, if you're thinking, you're not playing fast and you're not playing the position how it needs to be played. And so it's the guys who have seen it all. I mean, Devon Diablo was a 3-year starter, right, before getting now the keys turned over to him in Atlanta, and now what he looks like in there. So it's definitely a experience-based position that they're under attack by design. Offensive coordinators are trying to make life as hard as they possibly can on linebackers. That's kind of the whole point here. So, yeah, I'm going to say stands for me. All right. There's our upon further review. There is our Tuesday edition of Push and Pile, our
really quick
review edition.
Did you guys hear the shout out on the broadcast on Friday night? Okay.
I heard it.
All right.
That was awesome.
So
for
those, so I got to call a game this past Friday night. Delaware hosted Western Kentucky. It was a lot of fun. Turns out it happens a lot faster than you think in the booth, particularly with the hurry up offenses. You get all these notes down. I got my boards here. I got like 8 pages of notes on these guys that I was taking, and then you get to say 1% of it because either the ref's talking or the ball's on the ground. They're ready to go play another play. But Mike was texting me during the game. And
you're responding. I'm like, you're on the
to
call.
your guns on that fourth down call. And then it reminded me because they ran a fly sweep action one play. They outflanked the defense, and then they went under center again, and they ran QB sneak. And I said, just like my guy JP Acosta says on Pushing the Pile, every great offense has a play, and a punch, and a counter punch. I'm glad I got you guys involved on the broadcast. I look forward to doing it again in a week and a half. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll get a hitting streak going for giving PTP a shout out.
Let's make that happen. Let's get Kyle on more broadcasts. Let's get him calling more games because that was awesome.
We will see you guys tomorrow. We'll be back doing our tiers list. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing.